Hello, this is Gerald Hill van Was. Basically, all the letters direct us into a certain meaningful direction and position. And how does that come? So it's because we also recognize these letters in a certain category, in a way that we can categorize. There are three different ways to recognize letters. The first one also has to do with frequencies. The basic frequencies, they are like the lower frequencies, in which the differences that we notice there actually makes us realize the things very direct, very basic, almost like, okay, I have a fixed point to work with. I have something to work with. I can recognize something. Okay, here's the difference, but that's it. Very quickly. You don't need a timing for it or longer time for it. No, it's immediately there at that moment. The other kinds of letters and sounds, they are followed up. You hear them change over a certain period, and these are the second categories of changes. And there we don't need that placement, we need a timing for it. And it's a different way of thinking, and we recognize these, and these letters also direct us towards timings, towards changes. It's very logical actually. It's just the elements. You recognize the elements, you associate the elements. The higher frequencies are a bit less clear where they exactly are leaving their influence, where exactly they start or end, and there are more about, have a certain range of influence. And that's a different attention, also letters there. What we like to do is that we imagine as quickly as possible the things, the basic elements, the distinctions, the basic distinctions. So basically, the things in space, that's what we are basing ourselves upon. And we like to have all the things as fixed things, that we have a fixed point, and then we recognize them as a clear thing. That's our goal. And the approaches that I have with letters, how I analyze them and how I make them a bit more visible about what is happening there with the letters and the letter combinations. I have two methods that can be very distinctive. The one where I focus upon what is that thing then? How can I recognize that thing? What kind of form does this thing has? Is that focus mainly on what do I recognize down there? Of course, these frequencies, they don't help all the time. They are dividing this vision. Something is building up from there, but it will not always be clear immediately. The other option is let's follow up what is changing over time, and that option also gives us the idea, okay, maybe some things I don't have immediately, but how can I achieve them? So what's my attention is then going, that's the first scheme that I have here, is actually like a comparison of language, what we like to achieve from understanding each other. We have differences and we try to overcome these differences, try to see, okay, how can I achieve what is different? So that's a different focus. And when I focus upon that kind of attention, the second attention, that one of change, also the things will look a little bit different. And that makes it somewhat difficult. And you need a learning method for it. How shall I change the letters into shapes? And how shall I change them into an understanding what is really changing? So, and that are two different options, and I will give these two options with these two basic schemes. How does the letters actually behave themselves? What kind of form do they get, and so on? How should we understand them, and how can we understand them for all the words that have these letters? And the theory is here in the right. So you have a couple of letters, 3 times 3 positions, where you pick out the places, the points in space, 1, 2, or 3 points. This means these are the basic distinctions, where they are, in middle, a bit further away, or at the borders, in 1, 2, or 3 points. These are the basic distinctions, all the kinds of distinctions you can have, all the timings, all the movement. We started already with ATK in the previous video, and these were the basics for our pointing out positions. Where shall we start from? The A, the T, and the K are the three sorts of starting points where we can start from, which I explained in the previous video. And the different approaches with the timing aspect or the fixed point in space have also different coordinates. So if you want to have a geometrical association, the second one will be easy because that's used very often as well. You have the horizontal, vertical, and diagonal reference point where you see, okay, where is that point in space? That's basically the idea, to try to see where I have my starting point in space, where I can start from. The relative placement in timing, it will be a bit different because it's open to a couple of changes, and this all has to do with dimensions and with the higher dimensions as well, which maybe over time I will explain them how I see them, but they are dependent on a lot of changes that can happen. The first change is my interpretation. So how much do I see it? How much do I really am able to see the thing? So from my point onwards already, the interpretation will have an influence. I will come to that later. And so there's a change possible in the approach, and there's also a change possible in the future, in the progress that you will get. How much will I achieve? All these processes are timed, and they have different timings, and they're very dependent on each other as well. Too complicated for now. I will park this away, but let's go from A to K into the two options, in the timing aspect and in the placement aspect. Basically, you can say in the placement, we are busy with placing the thing into a preferably fixed point. We want to have it as fixed as possible. The other option in timing, it's just like, okay, we're going to organize it. How shall we make our plans in timing so that we can see where the things are going, how we can achieve them, and so on. So we look at different things than upon where is it. In the second option, timing, it's more like how shall we approach it. It will be a bit different. The foundations of the points follow the scheme that I have made. And the scheme, you can see here the first part, the A, T, and K have positions, have certain more or less fixed positions. So the order will be A, where I meet the spatial frame and say, okay, I see where I am and I'm going to start from there, anywhere. T is, okay, I see where exactly I can also pinpoint the position. So it's not just I have a starting point, I have a middle point, let's start from here. That's because that's already decisive, it's a choice. The T is more like, okay, this is what I do recognize here somewhere. The K is at the edge of my perspective and it's going away. At the same time, what do we use to recognize these points? The background for A is horizontal, for T is vertical, and for K is diagonal. It will be the same in the timing. You will be able to use them, but the reference frame between you and me, between what I make from it and what is going to be made from it in the timing aspect, will make the things a bit different as a perspective, as a foundation. It's all logic if you think about it. So the A is my starting point, where I can start from. The T is that middle point where I say, okay, here is the thing, and the thing is the same for you and me. A is my starting point. K is actually your difference, how you see it, how you use it practically. So that's the case. As the diagonal, I have to adapt a little bit to where my point of reference, starting point, is. These mindsets are a bit different in when you deal with different dimensions, but you should have more or less an idea. After a while you have an idea, okay, yes, I know what it is about. Just let it sink in if it's not immediately clear. The purpose of the visualization of the object in space are clarity, fixed points. We like to have fixed points. The A is a fixed point as a starting point. The T is a fixed point as a recognition of what there is. And the K is a recognition of your limits, actually. It's because it's at the limits what you can see as something clear. The next level, so these are 3 points in one dimension. The next level, of course, will lead us not to one dimension or 1 point, but 2 dimensions. So you could eventually already say, okay, let's have just a certain space, a certain range of space with U, the next level of with little bit more horizontal references, L with more vertical references, and B with more diagonal references. Theoretically, it's all correct. But it will be more complex because it's also not just, okay, I have my space from one dimension to another dimension. What I also deal with are the foundations of the 1, 2, 3 options from the beginning. They also have an extra aspect, is that there is a relative aspect in them as well. That A is trying to get to the point where the thing is. T is getting to the point where the thing is. And K is losing it a little bit where the point is. Are ideas that are now put onto a next level. Meaning that we no longer have a fixed point. And we have to deal with the previous level. With A is like, okay, but what is my starting point? Let's deal with the starting point, which is a bit different as the starting point I have to start from, because it is a little bit off. It's less clear. Once you have the split up of your vision, not into a sharp point, but into 2 points, you're losing it. And that's what is happening already on the second level. From 1 dimension to 2 dimensions, you're losing your clear focus. And there is a solution for that, is of course that you fall back on your clarity from before, but in a relative sense. From A to T to K, met already the relative sense in K. There are limits to your understanding, there are limits to what you see. If you see it into 2 focuses, this is your limit and you deal with that limit. So here you have maybe also a geometrical representation, but already you see I almost made it deliberately as it is, less clear, simply because we're losing our point. That's the point. We're losing our point of reference. It's less clear. We have a starting point, but it's a bit off from where we have started from our starting point. Say being U, say being L, say being K, also with horizontal, vertical, diagonal in that sense as well. What will happen? I will explain that better later. But this principle is important, that we're losing the focus. That's the first thing that happens. We're losing its focus because it's not just one focus. We're dealing with 2 focuses. The focus of what do we know and what do we not know. I say more later. What will happen in the timing aspect? The U will, and the L and the B will be elements that will not simply use these basics, but they will be used actually to breach the basics, to go not just to the 3 starting points, my starting point of view, the starting point of view, what is the same for us, or your starting point of view, then we have to reach each other. So if I have my starting point of view, I deal with the ATK elements, I deal also with that maybe your thing is different. So what is different from me and different for you as starting points, what I have, what I do not have, what you have and I don't have, is already realized in you. The elements which are changing place, let's say, or changing form, are realized in L, and what is actually going towards the other, towards something that is different, is already realized in B. So the good associations of you is that, yeah, you offer actually your ability, your starting point towards, yeah, I might be changing, I'm open to change. The L, I reach out to the changes, and with B, I breach myself and I breach the elements. Here, very basic, but as principles, as forms at that point. The relative state of U, L, and B. That is my video about. The point is, you don't really see clear geometrical associations. Deliberately, I said, and this is because it deals with an adaptation and learning process, and it will tell us how can I sharpen my vision anew, because it's no longer sharp. I don't have a starting point which is very clear and very sharp. How can I sharpen it? I want to know, and that learning process will be important. And how that works, I will come to next. But before I do that, I will also tell you a mindset of the first level, which is very often practiced, and what I see also a lot of times is that mindset of 1, 2, 3. I think it's almost the same as the programming which is done in the artificial intelligence is also using this 1, 2, 3 principle, and that's why it also works almost like an automated system. It works on its own. It's almost incomprehensible that it works on its own. But I told you more and more often, it's an administrator of performing this 1, 2, 3 rule. It's limited and it's not an intelligence, and I will tell you later why it's not an intelligent quality that it's performing there, because it falls back on this 1, 2, 3 role and doesn't apply it to the learning process itself. And that's why I'm going to renew actually the basics from ATK, and I will tell this again how this works, how the mindset is working in A, in T, and K, and what is missing from at that point in K, and how you can solve it. In A, it was like, okay, it was like less than 1. I'm going to find out what's there. That's the A. In T is, oh, I see what's there. And in K, actually it was, oh, I no longer see what's there. It's like you have the rule in 1 and 2, it's yes and no. In A, T, and K, it's a bit more complex, and that's why it's an automated system which seems to learn to find solutions. When it doesn't see it, the easiest thing that it could do is make a reasoning that it say, okay, I don't see it, so I'll leave it like that. It might be true, I can try it, and so with A, let's find out if it is, okay, let's take it. Okay, no, that's what it will do. It will take it again. It will adapt it into its reasoning and say, okay, I don't really see it, but it starts to make actually a kind of lie, because it's going to have a bluff that, okay, this is reality as well. And I saw a reasoning on Facebook lately, and it wasn't the best moment to react to it, but I saw this reasoning repeated, especially in alternative cycles, where they say, okay, we have to unite ourselves, we have to be positive, and we have to find connections and so on, and it means that you have a yes and you have a no. The yes in the A, the T, a yes and a no, but you also have things that are questionable. What shall we do with it? And the conclusion was, It might be true, so let's assume that we can use it. But then you will never learn, because then you will also collect what is not true. Artificial intelligence will collect all of it. It will collect what it knows. It will collect what what it's programmed to know. It will recognize what it is, and what it doesn't know. It will categorize it again as, yes, okay, let's take this as well and see what we can do with it. And then you will get false information. Then you will get wrong conclusions or contradictory conclusions. It can say one thing at one time and another thing at another time. It doesn't make the right conclusions. But the I do not know idea is very important. In A is I think to know. In T is I see something, so this should be the thing, this is correct. And I do not know is actually also like, you cannot make it into, okay, this is correct as well. This is a wrong assumption. It's a wrong way to use things. And that's what is too often I see on Facebook also all the time. People, when they do not know things, they start to bluff and make it like, oh yeah, I know this. Nobody ever says, okay, I don't know this, or this might be a question, because then they could actually start to learn. On the next level here, from ATK to ULB, is actually realizing what you know or what you do not know, and then this let's find out will work in a completely different way than to take it as it is. No, that's not the way to do it. You have to be able to say no as well, not just yes, and then yeah, but you can't be negative. You have to be able to say I do not know. What will you do then? What is the next thing then that you can do will be explained next. And the idea is like, okay, let's not find out, but let's see what I can develop, which I do not have yet. With you will be taking part in that collection. You learn to collect. You learn to collect, and that collecting of new information will need time. It will need time to adapt. It will need time to comprehend. Will time to give it a place. It cannot immediately get a place and say, okay, I have, this is my starting point, and I put it, I add it there because that's in my place as well. Or it's not there, so I don't want. That's not my thing, or that's not. No. You collect it, and you collect it for a time process, because for a potential time process. Because here we're still talking about starting points, but these starting points immediately in the engagement of the learning process will already make a connection in you towards the higher dimensions of learning, or meaning time process. Number 2, time will be potentially involved. I will give it a time. And with L, it will say, okay, let's see what will be developed, what can be developed, and so on. And with B, it will say, okay, let's see what can be enhanced, what can become more, like with the B. I only have these arrows added because actually it says I make a kind of addition with one dimension towards a two-dimensional frame. So I will have a different vision, which I'm going to explain next, a wider vision as well. But most important for the foundations is to make that frame of orientation, that new wider frame than the point of, yes, this is a fixed point and I'm sure this is it. Make that wider. You say, okay, there is a point which I know already, and all the rest which I have included in my frame I do not know. By having that balance, you also give it a place, a little bit more rightful place of, okay, this is the part that I already have, and the other part into the two-dimensional frame is that part that I still have to reach. I'm not sure yet, it's incomplete, but I can add it after a while. I can add it in time. And basically it is then that contradiction of knowing or thinking to know in A, recognizing in T, and no longer recognizing in K, which are related with that choice or pick that you pick out as starting points, which you have to see a little bit better. The real focus there, as you can see on top of there, is related with that part that you say, okay, but there is a part that I do not know, but if I see the circles, they can be realized with your focus itself, that says, oh no, it seems that the point that all the things that I'm dealing with, a part of it is off. It's not what I expected. Some things I do not know. So I have to refocus a little bit. I have to adapt, and I have to adapt to that part that I do not know. And thanks to that, losing it a little bit, you can also refocus at the same time. And that refocus is at the same time is a slight adaptation, refocusing upon the same things, upon the same points of A, T, and K on the next level into a two-dimensional frame, and where it actually says, okay, here's my middle point in U, which also includes that I know that a part of what, from my viewpoint onwards, from where I have my middle point, a whole set of things are not included in it yet. Same thing with L is about the materializations, by points of things that I see, like in T. There's a part of it, of things that are in development, actually still. They are still in development. And with B, it is more about where you have your limits itself, where you can breach your borders, where you can say, okay, but here maybe I can breach my stubbornness, actually. I can breach my ego. I can breach my limits of understanding by seeing that, okay, maybe I can see it a little bit broader. And that's what the B will do, thanks to realize, okay, let's have the not included as well. And that's the point of that's also how you go from one dimension to two dimension. It's not just a geometrical expansion and say, okay, I have now more. No, it still deals with this process of 1, 2, 3 options, and here the 1, 2, 3 options are going actually from fixed points towards an evolution, towards an evolving thing, towards changes, towards adaptations. On the first level, on this level, it's still pure, almost purely physical. Like in U, you have almost like you have an empty vessel that can be filled in. In L, you have almost like plants growing and becoming more, and with the B, a breaching of borders. So ATK, basically seen from the reality of the object we are focusing upon, is the A, okay, I have the object in my hand. With T is, okay, I see where it makes a difference. In K, it almost sees, okay, here is the border. And basically, when you start from the points onwards, you think that once you see the object in A, and you say, okay, I know the object now, I have it, you think that you can continue to use it in the same way and so on, in a horizontal sense. With T, it's more, you see, okay, where it is, and in K, you say, okay, where where is the border? That's of course also the same thing. And then, thanks to that, you can have you have an estimation about what the object is and how we focus upon it. With A, it will be focusing upon the full object. With T, it will be focusing actually more about from where it starts from, the object itself. And K, of course, again, it will see the borders. Here I have the A again, so the A is I have my first confrontation. Okay, I see the object, and from there onwards I can more or less estimate the full range of the object from the center onwards. But where my viewpoint is from, so it's like you have an object and there are 3 people around it. All 3 people will see the object different. I will see it from my point of view of A, and then I will meet the object. Even then, there is a part that I will not see, because the borders themselves, you will not see them in its complete picture. You will not see until where it goes. You just know it's an object. So by focusing it a little bit into 2 dimensions, you will see, okay, from my point onwards, I go towards it vertically, and I go horizontal towards that part. I say I know where I can start from. From with these 2, I have a cross point where I say, okay, here is the limits of my understanding. The part which I do not know is on the left. The part which I do know is here on the right. So I can start from it within that range of limitations. I will explain it a bit better, and this is maybe a good way to explain it. When you see an object and you focus upon it, which you're trying to sharpen your visions as much as possible, the middle part will be the most physical, and it will be the physical thing, but the borders are a bit becoming vague. You're not seeing the thing completely. These vague borders that will say, okay, but where does it will go to, until where it is the letter U, and that will be our new starting point. It will be a new focus, which will not focus just on the object itself, and I say, okay, I have an object, it's there in A. Here's the A. This is the focus, which is, if I analyze it from, this is my starting point, is my focus centered around the center, and I know, okay, this is the object. It's quite clear. You see immediately, okay, I have a clear, it's about a form. I can define my centralized form easily. Within these 2 letters, you can see it's the U is a new starting point, a renewed starting point that will make you get to know the letter A, the range, better, because where the A is, you have the part that you see well. The letter U is the part which you do not see well. And within that is your range of limits of starting from an object. It's also your interpretation. I can see it from this point of view. It's limited to where I can recognize and sharpen my vision. The thing is that part, actually, basically what I understand and what I can see from my point of vision, from my edge, from my angle of the things. My angle on the table, let's say, here I can define it, what it is. The other thing is that part which I do not see well. I can have this mentality as well. Okay, but let's fall back onto what I know and what I see, and that's the reality. That's what is basically happening a bit too often. There is a part that you do not see, and this part you can still learn to focus upon it better, to grasp on it better, or to sharpen your vision a bit to it. You will do that. It's a renewal of your starting point. It still goes towards your starting point, what you see. You have the A is gone here now in this vision, but the U will mainly focus upon sharpening on that part that you do not know well, or it will deal with it. It actually will deal with both U and A. And U will renew itself as if it is also my starting point. I'm still seeing it from the same starting vision of what I have, but I'm open to adaptation, because the adaptations at the sites will come to me, and I try to adapt them so that I see the borders a bit more clear. After a while I will realize, okay, like when I see an elephant from any angle, I will only see a part, and I will try to get all the picture, all the puzzle together, so that I can see, okay, what is the object actually looking like, how does it behave, what are the things I still have to learn. If I only see one side, I will never see the other parts of the elephant, so I have to adapt to understand the other sides. This is an adaptation process, which I will see in you. It's a realization that you just see it from one angle alone, and there are different angles. I will sharpen my vision, sharpen my idea. That's the learning process about. You is the part that will be filled in, that needs to be filled in, that makes it able also to be filled in just by focus on it, so that we can sharpen our focus upon what matters, the things that still have to be learned. And what do we need for it is actually time. It's not there yet, because we're focusing upon space itself. It's not there yet. We don't have a plan yet how to do so. We only have a realization. It needs to be filled in. It's hollow, maybe. It's empty, maybe. It's not there, maybe. But we know it can be filled in, and all the time potentials, all the timings can be attached there from the second level onwards. We have the potential of time. So because also we know how can we fill things in? By a time process. It needs time, it needs an effort to get to know what we need for it. We're not talking about that process in time yet, but the potentials are there. So what do we need to figure it out? Everything that can be accessed in time can give us an access point, which is actually here, that makes us adapt towards all the changes that are needed. So, and it's not just a dump filling in, like with the bluff before, like with the artificial intelligence, which is just in a dump way sometimes also filling it in, falling back on what it already knows, and falling back on the patterns it also knows. And that's basically also important to have this idea programmed in it as well at some point. And what is about these other two letters? I'm not going to talk too much anymore. The L and the B also are then into the two dimensionals. You have the vertical element as well as you knew, which is going to point out where am I and so on. So when you touch an object and say, okay, here is it. In one dimension, it's just, okay, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can sense it, okay, this is it. But there is more to it. Again, if I compare it to the surface, how thick is it? And what's the range of how well I can grasp it? What's the range of how well I can achieve it? How many layers are there as well? And both the L and the B are about this in these two dimensions. Okay, I have here three-dimensional vision, but it's like this: the range, the wideness, the thickness, and the variations are there, can be compared to L and B, because these are the parts that will say, okay, here I will realize better with how well the object is behaving at the borders there, so how well there are variations there, so that I know it's not just an object, but it also has a certain surface, it has a certain form, and so on. The second level is about form, and you can have a better vision of how the form looks like by using U, L, and B. What does happen in the timing aspect is actually basically the whole timing aspect is all about communication, about what is my viewpoint, what is your viewpoint, how can I adapt, and so on. And you have to have the letters on a little bit higher level up to see where they are. But everything that I place into this system is also about, yeah, what is it for me and what is it for you? On the second level here, you, it says, okay, that's my object. I know that is my vision. It's my starting point. So that's mine, and that's different from what's yours. So I have this development of saying, okay, what is ours? Actually, it goes to the full form and says, okay, a part of it is mine. Okay, another part is, I don't know, from you or from, it is, I have to see, I have to figure it out. It's the form, it has a certain form, and where is it all about? Is it part of me, part of you, part not from me? Well, it's going to figure that out. The next letter, L, is that whole form, for which is the same for both of it. All the things that are developing, it even goes deeper into the object in full 2 dimensions. It's going to look at that, and it sees, okay, but what is not just the form that is forming, what kind of format is it getting, and where will it go to where and whom it will belong to, what will be visualized there. That's that kind of mindset here. And the B is that one at the end, at the other, what is going to be developed. It's already from you, actually. It is from somewhere else, where K already says, okay, it's not from me anymore. So where is it going to? It already realized much more, okay, this is already going somewhere else. Let's see where it develops, to where it develops, how much it develops, and so on. It's a full openness to the process by having this second level of still physical things in space, but it's already having a different mindset there, and that's what I wanted to express in this part 2, where I will explain all the letters, how you have to see them as a form, how you have to associate them in a spatial frame, how you have to associate them in a philosophical frame as well, how you deal with that, how you deal with these things. And at the same time, already explained a little bit of this automated system as well. So ATK from 1 dimension to ULB to 2 dimensions are involved in effect much more than into a physical space. It has that potential to breach its first focal point of vision. Now, yes, this is it. It's fixed. It's already open to like, okay, but let's see how much it is not fixed and to what it develops. Let's have a look. Actually, something like that. Thanks again for watching. Bye.